Nobody put her name in a history book. Nobody painted her portrait. Nobody wrote poems about her courage, her sacrifice, or her extraordinary life. And yet, without her, the entire Tudor court would have collapsed. Not the king, not the queen, not the archbishop, the Lord Chancellor, or the Master of Horse. Her, a girl, sometimes as young as 13 years old, standing barefoot on a cold stone floor before the sun had even considered rising. Her hands already submerged in chemicals so caustic they would blister her skin before breakfast. She had no title. She had no power. She had no voice in the grand theater of Tudor England. But here is what she did have. She had access. She moved through the most powerful household in all of England, unseen, unnoticed, and completely underestimated. And in those damp, steam-filled rooms beneath the grand apartments of kings and queens, she saw things. She knew things. Things that could topple dynasties. Things that were written, not in ink on parchment, but in stains. Her name was almost certainly forgotten the moment she died. But today, right now, we are going to find her. We are going to follow her through every single hour of her extraordinary, brutal, secret-filled day. And by the time this story is finished, I promise you, you will never look at Tudor history the same way again. This is the forgotten life of a Tudor laundry maid. And it is one of the most remarkable untold stories in all of English history. Before we follow her through her day, we need to understand something fundamental. Who was she really? A Tudor laundry maid, particularly one working in a royal or great noble household, was typically a young woman between the ages of 13 and 25. She came almost certainly from a poor rural family. Her father may have been a tenant farmer, a tradesman, or a laborer struggling to feed too many mouths through too many harsh English winters. She did not choose this work the way we understand choice today. In Tudor England, for a girl of the lower orders, the pathways available were brutally narrow. You married if someone would have you. You went into service if a household would take you, or you faced something considerably worse. Service was survival, and the laundry specifically, was where you ended up if you were at the very bottom of the household hierarchy. Not because the work was simple, it was extraordinarily skilled, physically brutal, and critically important to the functioning of the entire household, but because it was dirty. Because it happened in the basement, in the outbuildings, in the steam-filled rooms that important people never visited and never thought about. Out of sight, out of mind, out of history. Now, the hierarchy of a Tudor royal household was one of the most rigidly stratified organizations in the entire country. At the very top sat the great officers, the Lord Chamberlain, the Lord Steward, the Master of the Horse. Below them, a cascading series of roles descended through gentlemen, yeomen, grooms, and pages. Each level had its own privileges, its own dining rights, its own precise code of conduct. And then, far, far below all of that, were the laundry staff. The royal laundry was divided into specific departments. The dry laundry handled the personal linen of the royal family. Shirts, shifts, hose, and intimate garments. The wet laundry handled heavier household linens, bed sheets, tablecloths, and kitchen cloths. Each had its own keeper, its own carefully guarded territory. The women who worked in these departments appeared in household accounts, if they appeared at all, as numbers. 4 women of the laundry, 6 maids for the linen. Anonymous, interchangeable, invisible. Her wages were among the lowest in the entire household. Historical records suggest laundry maids earned somewhere between 20 and 40 shillings per year. A skilled male craftsman in the same period might earn 10 times that amount. She likely owned the clothes on her back, a spare set if she was fortunate, a small wooden chest for her few personal items. She slept in a shared room, often in the laundry building itself, close to the work that defined every waking hour of her existence. She ate the leftovers from the household's lower tables. The bread that was a day old, the pottage stretched past its best, the bones of meat that had already fed other people twice. In the eyes of Tudor society, she was barely a person at all. And yet, here is where everything changes completely, because of where she worked and what she saw while working there. The laundry of a great Tudor household was not some distant, separate building removed from the action of the court. Linens had to be collected and returned constantly. Royal garments had to be handled, processed, and delivered back to the most powerful chambers in England. She moved, every single day, through corridors, up back staircases, into anterooms, bedchambers, and dressing rooms, always carrying something, always silent, always invisible, and in Tudor England, where secrets were currency and information meant power, that invisibility was the most dangerous thing imaginable. She saw everything. She knew everything, and she said absolutely nothing. Because she understood, with the bone-deep instinct of someone who had grown up with nothing and could lose even that. That silence was the only thing keeping her alive. But what exactly did her work involve? What did she actually do every single day? Because when I tell you the full reality of Tudor laundry, the chemicals, the process, the physical devastation it caused to her body, I think you will be genuinely shocked. This is not the gentle domestic scene that history implies. This was one of the most physically brutal jobs in the entire Tudor world. And it starts at 4 o'clock in the morning. She is awake before 4 in the morning, not because she chose to be, because the household above her wakes at 6, and before it wakes, the linens must be sorted, the fires must be lit under the great copper washpots, and the water, bucket after bucket after bucket, must already be heating. The laundry room is cold in the early morning. Her breath is visible. The stone floor is damp beneath her bare feet, and the smell is already present. A complex, layered smell that you would find deeply unpleasant. Wet fabric, wood ash, and something sharp and chemical that catches at the back of the throat. Lye, the primary cleaning agent of the Tudor world, made by filtering water through wood ash. Lye is a strongly alkaline solution, essentially a dilute acid, and it is extraordinarily effective at cleaning fabric. It is also capable of causing severe chemical burns on prolonged skin contact and permanent damage to the eyes. She put her hands in lye-based solutions every single working day, without gloves, without protection, without any understanding of the chemistry, only the lived experience that her hands hurt constantly, cracked and bled in cold weather, and never fully healed between one wash day and the next. But lye was only the beginning, because Tudor laundry also used stale human urine. Yes, aged human urine collected from chamber pots throughout the household, stored in vessels in the laundry, and allowed to develop its full ammonia content, was a standard cleaning and brightening agent for wool and certain linens. She worked with this substance daily, in enclosed spaces, in warm temperatures that intensified everything about it in ways that require no further description. And then there was ox gall, bile collected from slaughtered cattle, extraordinarily effective at cutting grease from fine woolen garments, and sulfur, burned in enclosed spaces with delicate white linens as a bleaching and fumigation agent. The fumes produced are sulfur dioxide, a toxic gas that causes chemical burns to the airways and serious long-term lung damage. She inhaled this regularly as part of her job. If she complained, she would be replaced by someone who didn't. So she didn't complain. Now let us walk through what she actually did with these substances. The most important wash of the week was called the buck wash. Linens were layered inside a large wooden tub, called a bucking tub, with wood ash between each layer. Boiling lye water was then poured repeatedly over the entire contents. The alkaline solution penetrated the fabric, breaking down grease and organic matter that cold water could never touch. The steam alone during a buck wash was almost unbearable. The laundry room was simultaneously freezing from the stone walls and scalding near the washpots. Her body existed in a constant cycle of extremes. After the buck wash came rinsing. The soaking wet linens, extraordinarily heavy, were transferred to clean water, wrung out, transferred again, and wrung again, multiple times, by hand. Wet linen is heavier than you might imagine. A single large tablecloth, soaking wet, can weigh close to 20 pounds. She was handling dozens of such items in a single working day. The ringing was done entirely by hand. Her hands, her forearms, her back, her shoulders, working against saturated fabric, hour after hour. Then came bleaching, laying the washed linens on grass or hedgerows to be whitened by sunlight. She walked those bleaching grounds all day, re-wetting the cloth, turning it, protecting it from birds, mud, and the sudden English rain that could undo hours of work in minutes. And finally, pressing, irons heated directly in open fires, applied by experienced hands to garments of extraordinary value. No temperature gauges, no safety features. She judged the heat by instinct, by a damp finger held near the iron surface. A technique that carried a burn risk every single time. Burns on her hands, wrists, and forearms from pressing irons were so routine they were unremarkable. They scarred. They healed imperfectly. They were replaced by new burns. Now, here is the detail that I want you to hold in your mind above all others. The garments she was washing were not ordinary clothes. A royal shirt, the personal linen worn next to the king's body, could be worth more money than she would earn an entire year. Some royal garments were decorated with intricate embroidery and delicate lacework that had taken skilled needlewomen months to create. If she used too much lye, if the water was too hot, if the iron was a single degree too warm, she could destroy in one moment what had taken months to make. And the consequences would fall entirely on her. She worked under this pressure every single day, with damaged hands, aching lungs, and a body aged far beyond her years, while the person whose shirt she was washing was being painted by the greatest artists of the age, immortalized, celebrated forever. She was not written down, but here is the part of her story that completely reframes everything, because the chemicals and the physical suffering, as extraordinary as they are not actually the most dangerous thing about her life. The most dangerous thing was something far less visible, something that had nothing to do with lye or steam or burning irons. It was what she knew, what passed through her hands every single day, and what it silently revealed about the most powerful people in England. And when I tell you the specific item she washed that could have gotten her executed, I think it will stop you completely. In the Tudor world, information was everything. The court of Henry VIII was one of the most politically dangerous environments in European history. Alliances shifted overnight. Friends became enemies between breakfast and dinner. People who had stood at the very pinnacle of royal favor found themselves in the Tower of London within hours. Everyone was watching everyone else. The great lords watched the king's moods. The ladies watched the queen's favorites. The ambassadors watched the counselors. The spies watched everyone. And nobody at all, watched the laundry maid, which meant that the laundry maid, without ever intending to, without ever seeking it. If this story moved you, if the life of one forgotten woman in a Tudor laundry room made you feel something real about history, about power, about whose stories get told and whose get buried forever, then this channel is exactly where you belong. Hit that subscribe button, because we are going to keep finding these people, the ones history forgot, the ones who were essential and invisible and extraordinary, and never once acknowledged for any of it.